Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're super excited that you're here with us, this phenomenal webinar. I'm really stoked about it, to be able to share what we've been doing for a long time with patients and athletes and people, and introduce you to some new little tool for your toolbox. And so as you're coming on, there's a lot of doctors from, it looks like, all around the nation and world coming on. As you're coming on, we want to make sure everything's working correctly. If you will go into the chat and be able to just put your name and where you're from, that would be awesome. We want to make sure everything's working good with that. And there you go. Mary, hey, thanks for coming on there. And Jeff, things are good in Denver. I'll come visit you right now, just not in about 5 months. So welcome, Tom. Glad you're with us. And Boise's in the house. Just got back from being up there for about a week, Tom, and love it up there. Julie coming in hot like us from Phoenix. Thanks. Karen, Ohio. Again, thank you for being with us. Oh, as always, Daryl, thanks for being with us from Charlotte. Again, go ahead and put in the chat your name, where you're from. Hey, Dr. Crane, and love that you're here with us, and appreciate you guys taking your time. It always means a lot to us that you care enough about your patients and growth to join us at these webinars. This is a very different webinar, one that, as I mentioned, I'm very excited about. But just because it is just one of those things that we've wanted to talk about for a long time, but unless you've been to a couple of our last few seminars, it's been something that we haven't really shared much with the other practitioners around the world, and it's things that we've been doing with the athletes and with different people, but there was no way to really share it in a large way that we felt comfortable about until now. And so this is going to be really a webinar that I'll just kind of be pitching in and helping out a little bit with some of the chemistry and the things that I've learned and utilize with patients and with different people. But mainly I wanted to introduce everyone to a company called Cellular Peptide that is a company that we endorse fully. And just to tell you a little bit more about it, Ashley Innes is with us. Ashley, how are you doing?
Hi, everyone. I'm good. Thanks for having me, Doug.
Welcome. Well, tell us a little bit about the company Cellular Peptide, the relationship with optimal health, and just kind of what the doctors can expect.
Yeah, so most people here probably recognize me. It's no secret that I worked for Optimal Health Systems for I think the past like 8 years, and I'm still very close with them. And not too long ago, Doug kind of came into, we all know he's very, into the research and new things in the industry, and peptides kept coming up, and it was like, how do we do this? How can we get this to our doctors? How can our doctors get it to their patients in a safe way for them, in a safe way for the patients? How can we ensure that it's the quality that, we want? Anyways, so over the past few months, I have had the opportunity to kind of create this new business, Cellular Peptide, to offer peptides to you guys in a safe way. With the help of Doug, he's kind of my, eyes and ears for the research quality side of things. And then I am handling, the business side, making sure that it's exactly what you guys need. And we truly do have you in mind. We have your patients in mind, your clinic in mind. And we're really excited to be able to fully offer these peptide products to you, because they work so well and they're so incredible, and people are seeing such great results. I just think it's going to be a game changer for you guys. So I'm really excited to get started today.
Maybe
sorry, go ahead.
I think that just to kind of add to that for you health professionals is that that peptides, we're going to answer a lot of your questions today just within the next few slides on the slide deck, but then open it up for questions and answers at the end. But I think that so that you know what questions we had, we're sitting there talking about it at Optimal Health Systems, and we're like, man, there's too many pain points. There's just way too many pain points, for clinicians for us to be able to get this information to them. It's going to have to be, someone's going to have to do this on their own and be their main focus and get rid of the pain points, be able to handle this and the legalities that Ashley will talk about in a bit, and be able to make it to where people feel confident and comfortable in recommending and prescribing the peptides. And so Cellular Peptide, as Ashley mentioned, really is a company created for health professionals to take away the pain points so that they can just focus on the health of the patient instead of jumping through these 10,000 hoops on the, on the wild west and in these gray areas. And so I'm really, really excited about what Ashley's done with it to be able to bring it to the market.
Yeah, so like Doug mentioned, there was a few things. There was a lot of pain points when ordering peptides. The first thing was that the websites that you're ordering them from, you just don't know anything about them. You don't know where the peptides are coming from. You don't know where they're sourced. You don't receive certificates of analysis or third-party testing. Often, like paying for the peptides, the checkout process is really weird. They want you to like use these weird cash apps and jump through all these hoops. And then there's the added stress of like, okay, now that I have the peptide, how do I know how much to take? Or what should my dosing be? Or how often should I take this? How long should I take this?
And
What?
And as a health professional, if you're getting it for a patient, you get this peptide, lyophilized powder, and you give it to a patient, you say, here's how you reconstitute it. Here's how you inject it. Clinicians aren't wanting to do injections in their clinic, which I don't think they should anyways, because the peptides, you have to take them pretty often. And, all of those things was a main pain point. And I appreciate you bringing that up because it's like, just so you know, you don't have to do any injections ever in your clinic. In fact, I'd recommend you never do. This is something that the patient does and everything's given to them.
Right. Yeah. So that was just the unknown of peptides, right? There's a lot of information out there on YouTube, all of these other places, but they're all kind of contradict each other, and you're trying to like cipher through what's legit and what's not, and it's overwhelming, which isn't something that you guys should have to deal with. And so we created Cellular Peptide with those pain points in mind so that we can worry about that and you guys don't have to. So the gist of the company is that we have created some protocol packages for you, and the packages include the syringes that the patients will need to inject the peptide. Some of the protocols are like a daily injection, some of them are weekly, but they're going to be doing that on their end at home. It's not something that you do for them in their clinic. So we provide the syringes for that, as well as the syringes needed to reconstitute the peptides. Like Doug mentioned, we provide the highest quality peptides that we could find that also come with certificates of analysis. We third-party test them in Doug's lab at OHS. So we're really paying really close attention to the purity there to make sure that the patients are paying you for actual peptides, not just amino acids, which Doug will talk about in a little bit. We are also provide, the alcohol wipes to make sure that everything's safe and sanitary. We provide the bacteriostatic water, and we also provide the dosing instructions, the storing instructions, the reconstitution instructions, so that it's really clear for your patient and easy to use, and they're not confused. You're not confused. You're not getting calls from them like, hey, what the heck do I do? We've tried really hard to handle all of that for you, so that all you have to do is give it to them and they're good to go. But we'll talk about each of the protocols and some of the research behind them in a little bit. Doug's going to help me out with that part, but some of the objectives of the of this webinar, you guys are going to learn how you can utilize peptides in your clinic. I've received a lot of doctors, they come to me and they're like, I'm not a chiropractor, I'm just a massage therapist, or I'm just XYZ, or, I have this XYZ special situation and I don't feel like I can safely do this. I want to protect my clinic. I want to offer peptides, but my clinic comes first, which we totally get. And so we have partnered, and we've done some strategic partnerships to help you with that, to help answer those questions for you so that you can safely utilize peptides in your clinic without having any worries of legalities or like future fallout. So we have handled that for you, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. How you can recommend them to your patient safely, kind of touched on that. We're going to talk about what sources you can trust for quality peptides, like what you should look for in the peptide market as to what's safe, what's not safe, where you should spend your money, where to not worry about it. We're going to talk about some common peptide conditions and protocols and the research behind those, why we've chosen the conditions that we have to create packages for. And then lastly, we're also going to talk about how to nutritionally support the body for your patients who are taking peptides, because that's an important piece as well. So those are kind of some of the things we're going to cover on the webinar today. So I'm actually just going to turn the time over to Doug and let him explain to you what exactly is a peptide, because that's one of the biggest questions we get. Like, what the heck is this? And how do I explain to my patient what I'm telling them to take? So
that's a great way to kind of lead into that, Ash. So as I talk about this for a second, I know that there's some doctors I'm looking on the list right here that utilize the peptides already and, utilize the services from Ashley. So those of you that do, Dr. Kaufman, if you were on there, when we open it up for questions and answers in the end, I'd love for you to comment just of your experience with patients. Like, I'd love some of the doctors to hear what your patients have experienced by taking the peptides. So if you wouldn't mind kind of prepping yourself for that. So the best way to explain to a patient is to do it the way that the owner of the Phoenix Suns told me what my job was there with him the first week. He said, hey, your job's really simple. It is take all this super high-tech information, research, chemistry, and boil it down so that a kindergartner can understand it. And if you do that, then you got a job. So that was basically what we try to do with the peptides, in a way that they understand that they're very serious, that they do phenomenal things in the body, but to help them understand what they do from a simple explanation. So what we like to do with them is say, look, patient, you know what a protein is, right? You have the meat, you have the grains, you get your protein from, and you have carbs and you have fats. But a protein itself is a whole bunch of amino acids bound together. So think of a whole bunch of amino acids bound together, and depending on which amino acids, that makes, red meat, that makes salmon, right? That will make quinoa, it'll make whatever protein it is. It's just different amino acids, but they're bound together in really, really long chains. And those chains end up being those types of proteins, even like in the body muscle, things like that. So here's an example of a whole bunch of amino acids bound together. That's a protein. Anytime we have something over 100 amino acids, it's a full-blown protein in the body. And most people understand that. But now then when you take a bite of that protein, you're right, you bite the piece of that steak. And if you have the enzymes, right, whole nother conversation, but if you have the enzymes that breaks it down and it digests that protein, all of these amino acids down into hopefully single amino acids. And that's the goal. And that's one of the big reasons we're such big fans of enzymes at Optimal Health, is because usually, if that doesn't happen, we have disease. And we want to make sure that it's broken down. So we take a protein, then the body uses protease to break it down to a peptide that we're going to be talking about, which is a chain of amino acids, basically above 1, right? So from 2 to like 99. And some people will say 250, but to keep it simple, 1 to 2 to 99, that is a peptide. And then if we're eating that meat, once it's broke down to a peptide, the body will break it down to amino acids from there using another enzyme. Well, what does it have to do with peptides? Remember, it's about breaking down then building up. So we eat the protein, it gets broken down to a peptide and then to amino acids and gets absorbed through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream. But then in the bloodstream, the body reverses it. The body says, okay, we need to make some bone. We need to make some muscle. We need some chemicals to stimulate growth hormone. We need some chemicals to stimulate the brain for clarity and focus. We need some chemicals to help regulate hormones in the body. We need some chemicals to help with your skin and whatever it might be. And so the body will assemble these amino acids, but instead of making a full protein, the body assembles amino acids into peptides. And so not all the way past 99 amino acids, right? Somewhere in between. And then those peptides is what the body utilizes to signal the rest of the body's processes to do something. Again, to the brain to think clear, for cognitive function, right? For the body to build muscle, for the body to balance hormones, whatever it might be. And so peptides are what the body uses once it's rebuilt those amino acids into these chemical carriers that are secretagogues. They basically tell the body, hey, you need to start secreting this nutrient, this chemical in the body. The body needs it. And so you take an amino acid, these individual amino acids, they come together. The body says, okay, we need this peptide, and it will break off an O and an H and an H from another one. So H2O, it kind of makes a little water molecule, and then the amino acids come together, and that makes a peptide. Then another one comes, and another one comes, and another one comes, and you have these water molecules that are created as these peptides are formed in the body, and it's really, really cool. So then we have these peptides, and like one of them, for example, is a peptide that says, okay, body, we need to heal. Like we have an issue with our joints or tissue or muscle or whatever it might be. And then it's a signaling molecule or secretagogue that stimulates the body, again, to create these chemicals that will do all these different things to help heal faster. The problem is this: as we age, all of a sudden, our body no longer is able to make these peptides as well as it should. Many times it's because it's trying to keep us alive from all the processed food and unhealthy lifestyle we're living, or the chemicals we're putting in, or the body just loses that ability to build and to make these peptides. So we go along and it takes longer to heal. We go along and we don't think it's clear. We go along and our hormones get unbalanced. All these things happen. And so what science taught us was that we're able to put amino acids together, right? And do that in a lab and take these natural amino acids and just bind them together through a ligand bond. One of my original mentors is named Dr. Harvey Ashmead, that started a company called Albion out of Utah. And he was the master. He was the best on the entire planet to help bind amino acids together and understand the ligand bond and all that. And he has all the patents on it. And so I was really big into amino acids way back in the early 90s because of my mentor. And they're able to bind them together. But the problem is, remember, when you eat food, you try to break that protein all the way down to single or maybe even double amino acids, and that's what gets through into the bloodstream. You can't put together a peptide and have 15 amino acids or 20 amino acids and take it orally and it be able to get into the system. The body will break it down into single amino acids again, and you defeat the purpose. So they have to be injected. So if you inject the peptide into the body, right? Say the healing peptide like BPC 157, that's just the name of the peptide that the body uses to signal healing, reduce inflammation. And we inject it in the body, then the body says, oh, here's this peptide stimulating, telling us to secrete more of the healing chemicals and, processes in the body. And the body says, oh yeah, that peptide starts making more of that peptide. So it's not actually in the body very long, only a few hours, but it is a secretagogue. That's why I love it. It's not a drug. It's actually just a signaler molecule and reminds the body of the peptide that it used to make. And so it makes more of it. So this one at the top is BPC 157. Which basically is a pentadeca peptide, means 15, right? It's the chain of 5, chain of 10. And so the concept with it is we give the body the BPC 157, inject it, and then the body makes more of that compound and we heal at a much faster rate. And as you'll see in the research, it's a ridiculously much faster rate. And then at the bottom is another one called CJC 1295, which is a peptide that stimulates the body, says, hey, you need to keep making more of this anti-aging growth hormone to heal faster, to be able to still be able to retain muscle, to keep your metabolism strong, to think clear. And so the body starts making more of it again. And the healthier your diet, the better your nutrient levels, the better the peptides work. So that's really kind of the history, or the kindergarten version of what peptides are.
Yeah, I get a lot of questions, especially from like friends and family who have heard that I've started this company, and they're like, what the heck is a peptide? And I often say it's super simply a bunch of amino acids, single amino acids that are put together in a really specific chain that tells the body to do something.
I love it.
There's a lot of different ways, a lot of different things we can tell it to do, but that's literally all it is. And usually that like light clicks for them and they're like, oh, okay. Still confusing, but makes sense. I get what a peptide is now. So kind of an easy way to explain it. So if peptides are this great, right, and they work so well, like Doug said, BPC is healing people at an insane rate, which we'll learn more about the research in a bit, but why now? Like, why are we just not just hearing about it? They've been around for a while, but why are they just now gaining steam? Why are we just now able to offer them? Why haven't we done this already? Why isn't this normal? And I'll let Doug touch on it a bit, but one of the main reasons is that what I usually tell people is because they work so well, there's bigger companies out there that don't want us to know about it. They want to control the market.
That's a
but
great.
we've got you guys covered. So I'll let Doug talk on it a little bit.
And you're being nice about it. The bottom,
That's true.
and Ashley's job is to be nice about it, but I don't have to be. So the bottom line is that, look, peptides work, and there's no doubt about it. And I'll show you the research. And those of you doctors, I'd love to hear from you in a little bit to help the others in it. And the question is, are they injectable? Yes, they're injected. And I'll get to that specific one, Dr. Klein, about where, like on BPC, you inject and stuff. But as I talk through them, but on the legality side. So here's the history. If you want to go all the way back to the Rockefellers and the whole world and pharmaceutical companies, the bottom line is the pharmaceutical companies were able to get a lockdown on lipid-based substances to patent them, right? They even were able to patent some of these fatty acid type molecules that there shouldn't be able to be patented. But anyways, they own that market because mostly all drugs are lipid-based, and it's easy for them to use a petroleum substance with them. So that's what happens. Now, what the deal is that we know we need to inject them again. So Dr. Singh, because the body will break down the peptides if we take them orally into single. We want those peptide bonds into the system. But because the pharmaceutical companies have trouble patenting anything that is natural, then there's a problem with that. And they don't like the fact that you can't patent something that works so extremely well when all it is a bunch of amino acids bound together. And so they're trying hard to patent them and different things and saying, hey, no one can do this. It's just strictly, it should only be, from us. We should be the only ones to, distribute them through the big pharmaceutical giants and control the market and make them so ridiculously, heavily expensive that they make all the profit from it. And so there's this big battle right now, and that's why a lot of people stay away from it. Is legal, not legal, different things. And it is crazy what's going on. And I follow the legal side of it and the research and, the arguments back and forth and everything. And the answer is it's crazy. It really is crazy right now. It is very popular in some type of places to where, they're prescribed from a medical doctor, and then it goes to a compounding pharmacy and that they will make it up, and that's done, and that's probably the most popular way that it's done in the medical industry, going through that route. That way they kind of have a little bit more control from the pharmaceutical side of it. But because they're so popular and they work so well, what's happening is people are ordering these online, as Ashley mentioned, and you don't know what you're getting, and people are having to order them all crazy ways and jump through all these hoops, because everyone's scared of what's going on, and kind of rightfully so, to tell you the truth. So what we looked at was like, wait a second, how do these pharmaceutical companies and other companies go out there and come out with a drug and a vaccine or something like that and put it out there and have zero possibility of anyone coming after them, or no one can say anything, right? And we started looking at all this, and there's these types of research studies, if you would, and they're specific, and National mentioned them, called the IRBs, that where you actually can do research that is backed by the guidelines and rules from the FDA, the government, churches. And so you're able to have this research umbrella. And so in looking at that, most of the time, people that go under that, really, it's not bulletproof. It's really easy to break through that if someone wanted to and say, no, you're not really doing a legit research study, and you don't have the backing, you haven't jumped through all the hoops and registered, with all of the major organizations. And so because of that, we are able to pierce that veil legally. But if you do it right, and it's extremely expensive to do it right, and you go through and you get all the attorneys and you form an actual research study, again, there's words for that called like IRB and that Ashley mentioned. If you form that, then you're able to have health professionals be able to now take advantage of it. And under that umbrella, you're able to prescribe and recommend these peptides to your patients under that umbrella. It's just that you have to be in the study, and then your patients have to sign a paper that they're in the study. But if you do that, that makes it so that you're protected in a huge, huge way. And because none of us want our clinics and our livelihoods, really able to be looked at, and all of our hard work, go down the drain because of something like that. And so we all have to kind of like, how much we utilize different types of technologies and things that are out there. And, for a lot of us, this is our life. This is all we do. It's all I'll do, till the day I die. And so we wanted to make sure that we are protected. And that's basically it, is that that Cellular Peptide themselves, Ashley's company, has partnered and created this huge research-based study through the IRB. Ashley?
Yeah, so, and I feel like a lot of people can get really overwhelmed with this piece. And honestly, I was that way too when we first started talking about it. But so an institutional review board, or an IRB, is simply a group of qualified people who watch over us and make sure that we are performing legit research, and we're following all of the guidelines. We're doing everything we need to do. We're filling out all the paperwork. That's it. That's their job. And in return, we are protected. So Cellular Peptide, am protected from any like legal fallout, or like, if at some point these pharmaceutical companies are able to figure out a way to work their magic and, lock down these peptides, too bad, we're doing research. So like, we're going to keep using them. But it also protects you, because I've partnered with this IRB and I have this umbrella of protection. You as health professionals, when you create an account with Cellular Peptide, you enter into then an agreement with me to enter under my umbrella of protection for peptide use. And together we will perform these research studies. And we'll talk about what that entails for your clinic at the end of the webinar, when we talk about creating your account. But simply, you have to sign an agreement that says that you are willing to enter under my umbrella. You agree to adhere to the guidelines that the IRB has set forth. And there are donations that, I have to call them donations, but that you pay to enter under my umbrella. As Doug mentioned, this is super expensive. So it's a $1,000 like upfront thing. And then anyways, after, we can talk about that more. But after that, you are underneath my umbrella with the IRB and you are protected. And then all that your patients have to do is when it's time, when you have a patient that you're wanting to sign up or recommend the peptides to, you get their medical information, like a medical intake form type of thing, so that we have the research like guidelines, right? Like we know, okay, this type of patient, she's a female, she weighs this much, this is the type of protocol she's going on, this is her medical history, that type of thing, kind of the constants of the research. And then they have to consent to the research study. You send that paperwork in to me, I send it into the IRB, and we're good to go. And then you then are performing research. And then at 6 months, I'll send you a form and you send it back to me that's simply saying these are the results that that patient saw. And that's it. It's pretty simple.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
Basically, you know, from my standpoint, I'm kind of looking at this from the standpoint as the other, you know, doctors that are on this call and in this webinar, and that is this: look, I want to be able to do this legally at the highest level. I want to be able to help my patients. So like in my clinic, right, optimal gain clinic, then I want to be able to help those patients, and I want to do it as easy as possible and be extremely protected. So I'm going to fill my paperwork out with Cellular Peptide, which I already have, right? I filled the paperwork out with Cellular Peptide as a clinic. So I have my clinic. Now, each of my patients, I have them fill a paper, sign the paper saying that they're, you know, involved in the study and that they're taking X peptide, and they will commit in 6 months to tell me their results. Even if they're on the peptide for a few weeks or a few months or whatever, in 6 months, they will say their results are X. I report that back to the IRB. That's the work. My job right now is really twofold. One is to ensure that the peptides are at the highest qualities that Ashley purchases. And number two is to take away the pain points for all of us in working in clinics, to make it super simple with the patient. And so we're heavily into the programming right now to make it even easier for the patient, so that hopefully within the next, I don't know what, Ash, what, few weeks or so, month max, but hopefully a few weeks, that it'll be really easier for the patient to go on and just simply, you know, answer the questions and click I agree to be a part of the study, and that's it. So that's really a lot of my work, is to make that part even more simple than it is. But the bottom line is that Cellular Peptide has started this huge international study. It is completely approved study. It's serious, it's real, and we get to be a part of that study. And then we, our patients are part of that, and that keeps everything legal under the umbrella. Because what's cool is we're actually doing research that then in 6 months, that IRB is going to be able to say, hey, here's how many people are being healed from, you know, BPC or CJC or whatever peptide they're taking. Here's the results for women, here's the results for men, here's the results for this age group. And it's going to be really, really, really cool. So super excited about that. So not all peptides are created equal. That's one big thing I like about Cellular Peptide, is a certificate of analysis that Ashley made. Also that now the manufacturing and can be done and overseen out of the East Coast. And really great that that's the factor in the third-party testing done here, also in America. And the biggest problem I have with peptides, and I'm probably jumping in on your talking, Ashley, I'm sorry, but I'll just say my biggest problem, and then I'll let you speak, is I see all these peptides that are being ordered by people, and I get all kinds of friends and stuff that come, I got this peptide, it's peptide. I'm like, oh, really? Show me. And they have this peptide. I'm like, how did it come? And they're like, oh, it came in this, you know, little bag in 120-degree weather. And I'm like, that's how it came? And they're like, yeah. And then like, okay, well, number one, peptides need to be cool. If they are come room temperature, they're going to have a limited life, right? So if on the shipping, then they get unfrozen or get to you and they're just now at room temperature. That's different than them being shipped to you warm and being hot. And like, well, they're not even taking care of them right. These things are fragile. Like you need to get them in the lyophilized form, which means they're just a powder in the bottom of the vial, and then you put the bacteriostatic water in it, and then within a month and a half, that needs to be used, and you store it in the refrigerator. Like you need to take care of these things because I think you mentioned, Ashley, if not, these bonds, the ligand bonds of the peptides break, and it doesn't cause harm, but you're basically giving the body expensive amino acids. You might as well go buy a pre-workout. Like it's, they're just separated. You're not getting the peptide itself bonded together so that it can act as a secretagogue in the body. And so a lot of times people are just getting these peptide, these amino acids because they haven't been shipped properly. They weren't stored properly. They weren't even created properly. But when they are done and you see the research done correctly, phenomenal things happen.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you pretty much covered it, but like Doug said, the bonds of the peptides are just extremely fragile. If you're familiar with peptides, in like YouTube videos or things like that, you'll see people say, when they're reconstituting it, like, don't shake the vial, just like really gently stir it, because just that, motion, they're worried is going to damage the bonds and affect the stability of the peptide and the effectiveness. So yeah, and then like Doug said, these other companies out there, like we just don't know if they're shipping it to you in just a package, like who knows how it's stored. So here we're really careful about that. I take every precaution I can. They're stored here in freezers. They're shipped. So from the lab to me, they're shipped on cooled, like in insulated packaging. They're stored here in freezers. I package them in insulated packaging. They're stored in a freezer until UPS picks them up. They're shipped in insulated packaging overnight straight to you. And like Doug said, it's not a huge deal if the package gets a little, it doesn't arrive to you frozen, but we want to, as much as we can, protect the insulation. I actually just upgraded the insulated packaging and the ice packs for the summer months because it's warm, and I just want to make sure and do everything that I can to protect the stability of these peptides for you guys, so that they're as effective as possible.
Absolutely. And so appreciate that. So let's jump into the conditions for the doctors that are like looking at this and, hey, what are we looking at here? And I like that, Ashley's put together 8 protocols. So there's, you could go into hundreds of peptides, and just like supplements, you can like, what do I do? There's all these different things. And so cellular peptides, much like optimal health systems, is they don't play that game. It's like, look, here are the best peptides with the greatest research. And will there be new ones that come out at times? Sure, but based off the research and the stability, and try to keep things really straightforward. So you can say, here's what my patient needs. Boom, here's the protocol. And so basically, Ashley, you want to mention each protocol, then I'll go into the research on them?
Sure, yeah. Okay, so this first one, like Doug said, we really looked at what does the research show, like which peptides have research that show this works, and we know exactly how long they should take it, how much they should take, what's going to be truly beneficial for these patients. So the first one is an anxiety and depression protocol. If Dr. Harris was on this webinar with us, he would talk your ear off about this for hours. He is a huge fan of this protocol. He says every single person should take it. But it utilizes the peptides Semax and Selenk. And you can see there on the slide that it's a 12-week protocol, this one specifically, because that is what the research has shown is effective. And within that, you are going to receive everything you need. The package includes everything the patient needs to take this protocol at our recommended dosage for the entire 12 weeks. And that's in this case, that's 3 vials of Celank, 2 vials of Semax, 2 bacteriostatic water, the wipes needed, 5 reconstitution syringes, because there's 5 vials there, and 130 injection syringes, because they're going to do 130 injections. And then the wholesale price for you guys for this package specifically is $290. And each one, we were really careful about how we priced them based off of the competition out there, our cost, obviously, and then the other things that are included in the packages, like the syringes and the wipes and the water, that are often hard to get your hands on in bulk amounts. So,
and in different places around, because of the diabetes problems, they're hard to find, you know, because of how crazy things are. So as I go through the research, just one time I want to explain the importance of this for those of you that are new to peptides. So those vials that come, they come with powder in the bottom of them. Okay, they're not reconstituted. There's no liquid in them. It's a powder. Okay, lyophilized powder.
maybe I'll grab one really quick to show you.
Okay, and then if you'll see on the screen there, the large syringe, that's what you take and put in the bacteriostatic water. You'll suck up a milliliter of it, and then you'll go and put it into the vial. So you'll take the bacteriostatic water and put it in the vial. Now it's reconstituted, right? So now you have liquid in the vial. Then you use the super small, I hate needles, insulin needle, right? Super teeny tiny. And that's what you pull out, whatever the amount is, it'll show the patient on the chart, and inject it. And that's what you do. And the answer the question for Dr. Klein, where do you inject it? These peptides work systemically. So really it doesn't matter. But most people do it either like in the stomach, just to the side, the stomach next to the belly button, or in the hip. You'll see one of the protocols that is the BPC. Many people, and I'm a big fan of it, injecting near wherever the injury is. But really, because you're injecting them and you're doing it to where it's just getting into the system, then it really doesn't matter where you inject. You just want to inject it in a fatty place in the body, for the most part. So I'll get more into detail that. You have a...
Yeah, so I'm just taking the label off so you can see it, but this is the link. So you can tell, I just took it out of the freezer, but it's just a white, like solid powder at the bottom. But when you put in the bacteriostatic water, it will dissolve, if that's the right word to use, into, you know, the liquid that you can inject. So pretty simple.
All right. Real quick, this isn't going to be a full-blown peptide webinar. Again, we have held a peptide webinar with Dr. Harris, which is super fun because he goes into crazy detail, more than you'd ever want to know, but it's really, really cool, by the way. And we are going to be doing a mini peptide webinar at the homecoming. So if you're coming to homecoming, super seminar next month, August in Tucson. So if you're coming to the super seminar, make sure your flights aren't until Sunday evening or Monday morning, because Sunday at noon, we're going to give the free, by the way, peptide seminar with me and Dr. Harris, going through some of the crazy research on this, giving you some real life examples. And I'd highly recommend that you do it. So if you weren't already scheduled to come to the super seminar, you want to come anyways. It's going to be our best by far. The speakers I'm bringing in are going to be phenomenal. They're blowing the doors open to helping you understand what's going on in the world today and give you tools to be able to get your clinic to the next level. We're introducing 2 new product formulas there, but then the added bonus is stay Sunday instead of checking out in the morning and enjoy that web or that seminar. So the quick version is this: Celank and Semax, these have been derived from human immunoglobulin G, and they've been studied heavily for their antidepressant properties. They improve cognitive performance. They help with anxiety, depression, cognitive dysfunction, and that's mainly Celank. Semax is really for its neuroprotective properties. And it really helps impact on mood and emotional well-being. And it's an immediate thing with Semax. You take it, and it's immediate benefit that you feel from it. And it is really used a lot to help with the protection and treatment of things, even people that already might have Alzheimer's and situations like that going on the body, Parkinson's, the disease. And so these two are combined, not in the same vial, but a lot of them are, to make it simpler. It's just that they're taking at different times and amounts. And so this is one of the few protocols that it's 2 different peptides and 2 different vials. But this is, as Ashley mentioned, Dr. Harris is just an extremely huge fan of this because of just keeping the brain healthy and strong and helping with a lot of these conditions that most people will take other drugs for that have major side effects. So, especially with Selenk, with its antidepressant effects on the body. And so it's stimulating the peptide to help the body create more of those neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, or epinephrine, and those types of things. So super strong research on this, used extensively around the world. And that's the combo that is best for those types of things.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is the blood sugar and weight reduction protocol. At first, this started with just it was just called the blood sugar protocol package. And then we quickly realized that a lot of people use this as well for weight loss. So we threw that in there into the name as well. And this is one of our most popular packages so far by far. But it utilizes the peptide semaglutide, which I feel like out of all the peptides, at least that I know of, this one is the most trendy or talked about right now, especially in like the med spa industry. But this one specifically is a 16-week protocol. Again, it comes with everything you need. It comes with 6 vials of the semaglutide, and the wholesale price is $720 for the whole package.
And we'll talk about what you should recommend, or what I'd suggest, or what we've seen in the marketplace too. And I'm going to cruise through these two because I really want, and already getting messages in here that we'd like to hear from some of the doctors and their results. And I'll give you some of the results from our patients too. But the semaglutide is the one that is extremely popular. And I have some patients on this that were having a very hard time to be unable to lose weight and stick with their protocols, giving them the exact eating protocol they needed to be on, everything in detail, and then it's fallen off the bandwagon, even doing the Flora Blitz type stuff, which fixes 90% of the people worked with, doing the 21-day challenge, those types of things. But those people that just were having a hard time sticking with it, the semaglutide was the answer, because one of the things, and I'm going to go through the research, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm a big fan of it. So semaglutide really is a glucagon-like peptide, right? GLP-1. And it was first, as Ashley talked about, really came out for improving glycemic control, which is basically blood glucose levels in the body, and helping with people that are, pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic. And that's still extremely beneficial there. But what they noticed was this huge weight loss happening with these people. And then there was these cardiovascular benefits, right? Lipid improvement in the body, and these benefits, especially with the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and these crazy benefits of people, completely being healed from a fatty liver from all these processed foods and different things. But it was because they were able to monitor and manage their diet better, and so it improved. So whether it was the semaglutide doing the improvement, or the fact that we got rid of the things that were causing the problem, it's interesting. It's kind of an argument there. The bottom line is the body gets fixed. But I put this study in because this is why I love the benefits of semaglutide, and I really spend a lot of time explaining this to the patients, because it regulates ghrelin. Ghrelin is the main hormone in the body that involves appetite stimulation. Because if you have patients on this, you're going to see what they tell you is, I still have the cravings for the foods and stuff, but when I eat, I don't need to eat very much. And that's what ghrelin's job is, to let you know that, hey, you've eaten enough food to sustain you, so quit eating, yahoo, right? It's like that's ghrelin's job. And we override ghrelin because of the processed foods and the chemicals that are put in them. And that's part of the whole job of the food industry, is to override that, so you eat more food and you end up getting fat. And so this regulates ghrelin, the peptides stimulate to where it should be. So you keep getting told, nope, this is what you need. So people are actually regulating their caloric intake naturally because now ghrelin is under control. And so that was really, in my opinion, one of the biggest breakthroughs that's probably not talked enough about there today. And the studies on that show that. So the people are taking semaglutide, they're able to really curb their appetite because their body's being told you don't need as much food. You only need enough to survive and keep your body anabolic, which is true. And it's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. Now, I had someone the other day says, well, I've seen a study that showed people gained weight back when they went off semaglutide. Yeah, I've seen that study too. And I've also seen the studies where they didn't. What's the difference? If you put people on a healthy eating protocol, you put them on the 21-day challenge, the 63 for Me app, where you're getting them off fried food and do those things. And now they have the help because now they're not craving those foods as much. And they change that lifestyle because finally now they get the jump start. When they do go off of it, they're living this healthy lifestyle. But if they just keep eating crap and never even try to help with the lifestyle, they're just eating less of it. And then they keep eating crap again and they override ghrelin again in the body. Yeah, they can gain it back. So it comes down to being smart about it. Semaglutide is not the answer. It's balancing ghrelin and then making sure you don't unbalance ghrelin again in the future by improving your lifestyle and your eating habits. So huge fan of it. The citations on it are long. And one comment on this is, and I know we're running out of time, sorry, is that you're going to see ads on TV about these things and say, oh, here's this drug that helps with weight loss and appetite. At the bottom, you'll see it say semaglutide, but they have a different name up top. What's happening is the pharmaceutical industry is binding other chemicals to semaglutide to keep it in the system longer and act like a drug. Well, now you're going to get side effects. You're going to hear about side effects from some of these things because it's not the straight peptide that the body makes anymore. They're actually turning it into a drug so they can patent it and go on that way. So we want just the pure peptide as it's found in the body to stimulate the body, to get the body going, to be this secretagogue, okay? Growth hormone.
Yeah, so this is another one of our really popular packages. Growth hormone and anti-aging is the goal here. And we use a combo vial of CJC 1295 and ipamorelin. They're both together in the same vial, 5 milligrams of each. So you only have to reconstitute it once. And again, it's a 16-week protocol. Everything that you need is included. I did see a question about if there's info included in the packages. And yes, in each package, there is a card that comes for your patient. It explains the dosing. It explains when they should take it. It explains how to reconstitute it. There's a QR code that goes to videos on instructions on how to reconstitute the vials and how to inject the vials. There's storing instructions, all that good stuff. So everything they need is included in the package, which is our goal for you. So,
and I really like what Ashley did too, because the video is like a little cartoon, and it's really cool because it teaches them simply how to reconstitute and then do the injection and all that, and it makes it really easy. Now, it's a 16-week protocol, and so that's, you're looking at 4 months. And if you look at the breakdown of it, a 4-month protocol at $1,000, if you look this one up, you're going to see that, there's places that do this for like 10 grand, 20 grand for, growth hormone type things. So your pricing is actually really, really good. If you think about it, 16 weeks of daily injections, that's a really good wholesale price point on it. But just wanted to mention that when people say $1,000, 4 months. And so we'll talk about the pricing in a minute for the patients, but I'm a big fan of CJC 1295. This one, it helps with growth hormone. This one helps with lean body mass. It helps stop sarcopenia, Dr. Singh. I'm a huge fan of stopping sarcopenia. You combine this with Muscle RX and you pretty much knock sarcopenia out, meaning age-related muscle loss. And this helps the body to just stimulate that peptide that tells the body, hey, we still want to improve. We still want to be anti-aging with our fat burning, our muscle building, our mindset, our clarity like we had when we were really young. And this one's great because it also has those neuroprotective effects. So I actually had a patient that was that came to me because of mental clarity and focus. They're a Fortune 500 company, self-built, and that was their main concern. And in looking at it, normally you'd think Solank Samax, but their situation was one that I could tell it was a little more hormonal based. And so we went with this, and it completely changed their life, like completely changed their life. And they, you know, sent pictures, say that added benefit is that I'm looking better, I'm feeling better, and I have a little bit of muscle and all that, but that isn't even the reason they went on it. But so that's a really powerful CJC 1295. And then it's combined, as Ashley said, the research studies are there with ipamorelin, which ipamorelin is a combo peptide that really works synergistically with the CJC. It really works more like Dr. Harris puts it as one that will pulse, will keep pulsing and making sure that the body understands, hey, make this peptide again, make this peptide again. And it again has neuroprotective properties too. So there is those neuronal function benefits from CJC and ipamorelin, besides just the growth hormone, anti-aging type, you know, benefits for muscle and strength. And so Dr. Unger, hey, question, how long do the effects after the protocol's finished? That's where the nutrients come in. If they've improved their lifestyle with their diet that caused probably the peptide to, you know, start not functioning as much and being produced as much, if they add the nutrients back that help the body make peptides, then they can continue on for long periods of time, whether it's months or years, and without having to go on it again. The idea is to get them to be stimulated so that it's a one shot. But if they keep going back to the lifestyle that made it so their body quit making those peptides, then they might need to do another round of it or cycle of it again, you know, months down the road or a year down the road or 2 years down the road. But that's not the goal. The goal is to get the lifestyle so they don't have to. All right, so there's the research in ipamorelin, hormone balancing package. Should I just zip through these, Ashley?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this one is a 10-week protocol. Again, really great pricing on it. And the key with this is they're not ordering a vial and just getting a vial. And then they got to go find the bacteriostatic water. They got to find the right syringe to reconstitute, the right size syringe to inject. You know, it's all taken care of. And that's a huge factor. But this one is kisspeptin. Now, kisspeptin is really important for reproductive system. The research on this is really for, was done with a lot of women when they're just having problems to be able to have babies and needed that balance. And so it is used for that, but it's also used in a huge way just to help balance hormones in the body, men and women. I spoke to a guy, I don't know, 20 minutes before this seminar who's going to go on kisspeptin, and it was a man that was just having issues of hormonal balance because of prescriptions and things that he had taken that messed his hormones up from a male standpoint. And so, because what its role, it's in stimulating the release of gonadotropin releasing hormone, and so it really helps balance, you know, FSH and LH in the body. So think of it as one to be able to utilize to help with the balancing of hormones in the body. And so it's really, really, really great peptide for that. The research on it is phenomenal. Again, if you put a female on this protocol of kisspeptin along with the protocol of the essential fatty acids, the female formula, and that, you have a really good shot at helping. You'll probably be told that you're a fertility clinic after a while because your results will be so great. This one is, I think, the most popular. I don't know, Ashley, from the cells of in your company or not, but I think this is probably the most popular peptide known out there today. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that might keep some people like, oh my gosh, you know, $1,900 wholesale price. It's a 12-week protocol. This protocol is called the Wolverine protocol. If you want to look up the street name for it, the reason is people heal like Wolverine. And I was skeptical about the hype behind this personally, but I also knew that it's what was used with the professional athletes for years, and pitchers and people with elbow issues, shoulder issues, knee issues. And so I've seen it and I see it work, but I was like, you know, come on. And how much is placebo? Because it was so crazily hyped. But the research really backs it up, and I've personally seen it. This is the actually only peptide I've taken, and personally, and this peptide completely changed my world as far as an injury in my shoulder. that I'd worked to heal for over a year and a half. So this protocol, BPC 157, again, 12-week protocol, taking this 180 shots in that amount of time. And again, I hate needles. It's ones that are really small that you hardly feel. But BPC 157, I think, has the most research out of any peptide in it, to be able to help with any type of injury, whether it's a tendon issue, ligament, muscle, deep muscle issue, joint issue. And it also has a protective effect on the liver, which every other product that helps, or drug that helps reduce inflammation, has the opposite effect. If you reduce inflammation in the body, taking an over-the-counter drug like a Tylenol or taking a prescription drug, you're going to cause damage to the liver, right? No matter what. This has this protective effects on the liver, and it's anti-inflammatory in a huge way. It reduces inflammation and helps stimulate the healing of the body. And TB500 is a peptide fragment of something called thymosin beta-4, and it is along the same lines to help with injury, to basically send the nutrients to the site, the white blood cells, to clear the injury, to be able to help heal. And it has been used too in neurodegenerative conditions like traumatic brain injury, but it's really known for if you have a patient with a low back pain that won't get the heal, it's hard to get the inflammation down, the shoulder pain, the tennis elbow, knee, this is a way to go. Huge fan of it. That's why I really want to get the doctors to comment here. So I'm going to blow through this because I have seen patients and personally seen the benefits of this protocol. And I am a huge fan of BPC TB500. If you come here, Dr. Harris, you're going to hear him go through study after study after study on this subject, on this peptide. And one of the studies, this is his slide, not mine, is he talks about severing a muscle, completely severing a muscle, and in the study, completely healing without scar tissue. And he'll go through that research study with you from BPC 157, TB500. So blown away at the benefits of that. If you are looking for a start, you want to do BPC 157 TB500 with the protocol with the patient, and then you'll see if you're a believer or not in peptides. Organ health anti-aging protocol, again, this one's is a much lower price. It's only a 30-day protocol, but this one is if you're just wanting to go in to support the organs in the body, also get anti-aging benefits because you have the kisspeptin in there, but you also have epitalin, which is known as the, so we talked about kisspeptin, but the epitalin is really known in the anti-aging world. This is the one that you hear a lot of research about telomeres and the length of telomeres. Epitalin helps increase telomeres. So this is an extreme anti-aging, cortisol reducing peptide. So this protocol is what a lot of anti-agers will go to and say, hey, I really want to help just the body to, get to the point where I'm in the anti-aging mode of telomere lengths, cell strength, health, and those types of things. And so it's really a great protocol for that. You have people come in and say, what's your best anti-aging protocol? And you'll give them this one. This one's a sexual enhancement protocol. This one's very popular, but not talked about that much. And I see the questions coming in. I'll get to them in just a second. Right, Ashley, we'll hit those up. I appreciate you guys putting the questions in there because they're super important. So I see one talking about if a client gets nauseated on peptides, on the BPC 157. We're giving a lot of information in a couple minutes, so sorry I'm speaking so fast. BPC 157, that protocol for joints, I've never heard of anyone getting nauseated with it at all. With PT 141, this one, and thinking of another one like semaglutide. Semaglutide. There at times the first injection or two, some people get nauseated. In those cases, I backed it down. We have one client that got nauseated, and we backed it down to like a fourth of what it recommended, and then worked their way up each week, adding a little bit. So you can go from there, but the nauseation is just from the body making that peptide it hasn't made in a long time. So if they really need that peptide in the body, they really are lacking in something like, for example, with the semaglutide, like, that they have blood sugar issues and they really, have issues with that. Their body isn't making the peptide properly for ghrelin. then start slow, right? And the protocol even has you do that. Same thing with PT141. If they have a major sexual libido imbalance, like if your patient has a major problem, one, being satisfied, two, getting in the mood, and that type thing, men or women, this is really tested really well with women. But if it's something like a Viagra type thing like that, or just sexual arousal, period, PT141 is phenomenal. But if they have a problem with that, then they need to start low and work their way up with it, even like do half of what the protocol says. So that's one thing that you'll notice. If there's any type of a side effect, you'll see sometimes they'll get a little nausea at first, and you can stop that by lowering the dosage. So PT141 is just that. They'll take it. It's a 30-dose protocol. They just use it when you need. Basically, think of it as taking it like people take Viagra and those types of things, but for women also. So like date night. So they'll take it on date night, an hour or two before they go out or go in or go into whatever situation they're going to go into to enjoy each other. Sorry. So it's a hypoactive sexual desire disorder. And this works really, really well. It's extremely, extremely popular. But again, just work off of the nausea factor with it. Basically, it's the peptide to help regulate that, so that if anyone remembers how they felt when they first started going through the body making PT141 and stimulating the body to desire and arousal, and that's what it takes the body to. And so just know that that's what happens with it, and it works very, very well, and it's very popular. There's a running joke in the industry that more men order this for their wives than they are wives ordering it for themselves, or men ordering it for themselves. So anyways, you can take that for what it's worth. So PT141, again, it's more of a use peptide. All the other peptides have protocols. The research shows you need to take them for this amount of time to get the most benefit, to stimulate the body so that, like Dr. Unger mentioned, the body can continue on. And if you live a healthier lifestyle, you don't need to go back on again. The PT141 is a little bit different. This one has some of the PT141 benefits. You do get the sexual benefits from this MT2, but it is actually the tanning protocol. The street name for this is the Barbie protocol. So because you've seen, what are the name of that family?
Kardashians.
Yeah, the Kardashians. That's them. They really made this popular because of taking it for tan. And you get tanned with it. But Dr. Harris talks a lot about how it actually helps with melanin in the body and helps with cancer situations versus hurting them. So this is a great protocol for that. Dr. Harris likes it for other benefits, even on the cancer benefits, but that's more him speaking on that. The research on it is more from what I've seen on the tanning, and also getting the sexual benefit from it too, sexual dysfunction. So that's that protocol. And that's the basic 8 protocols. And I think that for the sake of time, Ashley, do you mind me kind of going through this, the nutrition, and we'll jump to questions and answers, and you going through the IRB stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So nutritionally supporting the body's critical, docs. I can't emphasize this enough. This is not a drug. These are amino acids that are stimulating the body to produce these molecules. And if the body has the right nutrients and you're not coming at it with these fried foods and heavy processed foods, they're going to work at a much higher level for a longer period of time. That's the key. Okay. Peptide injection should be done on an empty stomach. That you're going to get much more benefit from them. The research is very strong on that, showing that you want these peptides by themselves in the bloodstream. So a couple hours after you eat is really the key with it. And super important to do if you want the full benefits of the peptides is to take on an empty stomach. So with the CJC 1295, you take it right before bed. Don't eat for a couple hours, take it right before bed. Maybe in the morning, take the BPC one, when you wake up before you eat, or make sure it's been a few hours since you've eaten. The micronutrients are critical. The research is strong on this, very strong, if you look at the research. And so we put together a peptide support pack. You don't have to use this, but for docs saying like, well, I heard that you need P5P and resveratrol and all these things to help the peptides work longer and to continue to work after you go off of them. Absolutely. And so what happens with it is with the peptide support pack, I recommend, and what we do with all of our patients and clients is, look, go on the peptide, and take the peptide support pack, then take your basic custom pack, whatever you're doing for your basic needs. And that's, you take this while you're on the peptides to support the body to continually make more peptides. You want the body to make the peptides. The peptides are only in the system a few hours. You've got to stimulate the body to make additional peptides and say, oh yeah, body, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Here's the nutrients, let's keep making them. And so the peptide support pack is critical. To go back again to the doctor's questions, how long do the peptides work after you quit taking them? It's based on the nutrients available to have the body be able to continue to make the peptides after you've stimulated a secretagogue to say, hey, here's this peptide, remember us, start making it again. The nutritional support is there too. Basically, it's simple. Put people on 63 for Me app or on 21-day challenge. It gets them off of fried foods. It gets them off processed foods, avoiding the refined carbohydrates, processed meats, eating more of, avocados, raw nuts. If you eat meat, fatty fishes like salmon, quite often, the high antioxidant foods. So the peptide support condition protocol, doctors, is already in the system. You can download it. You can give it to the patient along with the peptide. I highly, highly recommend that. And so, Ashley, should I answer a few questions or do you want to go into this first?
Let's go through this first, just because there might be some questions about it and I might be able to answer them before they get asked.
Okay.
Okay, so for those of you who are like, yes, I want to get started, let's do it. Let's start working on this together. Because of the IRB, there is some paperwork that is required. Sorry, but couldn't get around it. Like Doug said, we're trying to make it easier for you. But I feel like the process is pretty simple. So the first thing that you'll need to do is go to our website, Cellular Peptide, and we are going to have, when we're answering questions, we'll have a slide up that has some links to go there. So you don't have to go there yet, but you're going to go to the website. You're going to create a login. And when you do that, we'll send you an email and you need to agree to receive email marketing from us. And that allows us to email you the CIF 1002 form. That's the IRB's form. That's an agreement between yourself and me that you're willing to enter under my umbrella for the IRB that we talked about a little bit later. That form does need to be signed and notarized and returned back to me, and then I send it into the IRB. And I also need a copy of your driver's license or any state issued ID, really, just so that they can verify that you're a real person. I'll send that into them and they look it over and they give final approval. I did see a question. Sorry, Doug. I saw a question about, can I order this for my clients as a certified integrative nutrition health coach? Yes, you do not have to be a licensed health professional to order from Cellular Peptide. We just need to know that you are a practitioner. You're a health professional or certified in some way. You have some clients that you are going to be recommending this to, and you have some sort of knowledge, education to back you as this person that's entering into the research study with us. That's really all that's needed. There is on the 1002 form for the IRB, there's a section that asks what type of, education or knowledge or experience do you have that you feel qualifies you to, be a part of this research study. So yes, anybody can, or any, licensed or certified person can be a part of this through the IRB, which is awesome.
And the IRB is ultimately the ones that decide that, right? So if they came back and said, hey, sorry, you need to have some type of certification, that's up to them. But what they've done and said that I've heard in speaking to the main, lawyer group with them is, look, there are states that sometimes, allow naturopaths to be registered and that some states don't. Some states, there's so many weird situations with health professional accreditation, certification, that they're trying to look at it and say, look, does this person, are they qualified and have a patient client base that's legit, that, you know, can participate in this study, so we can really see the benefits of the peptides, and they'll follow the protocol. So that's really what it is. And I think that that's an important thing to understand, is that from Ashley's standpoint, I filled out the 1002 form, and then that allows me to be under them. Now I could go out and get my own, start my own IRB, but it's about $250,000, no joke, minimum, to start a full-blown one. Because I've heard people say, oh, well, I went out and got this and, you know, I'm covered. And man, they'll poke holes in that. So we all want to be under a full, legit, true IRB that's doing the research, and we'll work to make sure we make it as simple as possible moving forward for the patient. You know, we have to get the papers notarized and sent in. But the question I had, Ashley, is what is the time frame now for the turnaround? So if I'm a health professional and I fill out that document, the 1002 document, and notarize it, right? So I run down to the town hall, get it notarized or whatever, and send it to you. How long before the approval happens?
So once I receive the form, I'll look it over. As I have had a few cases where someone will, you know, miss a signature line or something, and I'll have to get it back to you and say, hey, fill this out before I can send it over. But once I send it over, 9 out of 10 times I hear back from the IRB that same day and say they're good to go. So I wouldn't think it would take more than 1 to 2 business days, as long as everything's filled out correctly. And I do provide instructions and tips on how to fill out those forms, because it's the IRB, it's a lot of like legal jargon, right? That's kind of hard to understand. I was super confused the first time I read through it, but I've worked with them and we've kind of, you know, figured out, okay, this is exactly what's needed in each of these spaces. And I try to guide you guys through that as well as I can. There's also on the website, that the link that you're going to see in just a second, there's also a spot there that if you wanted to set up a call with me and we could do it together over Zoom, there's that availability as well. If, you know, going through the form on your own feels a little bit too overwhelming, I'd be happy to help. So once I get approval from the IRB, I did mention a little bit earlier, there is a $1,000 donation. And I have to call it a donation, but it's essentially to go towards the cost of the IRB and you entering under my umbrella. And so, but I don't charge you for that $1,000 until you are approved, right? Until I hear back from the IRB and they say, yep, this person's fine. Oh, and I did want to mention, I have sent in probably 30 of these forms so far since we launched with the IRB, and I haven't had a single person that the IRB has said no to. Like, it's pretty, but I feel like they'll accept pretty much anybody that we send forward. You all are already verified health professionals through Optimal Health System, so I don't feel that there should be any problems. So I wouldn't worry about that too much, but I think everyone would be okay.
The way I looked at the $1,000 price too was one protocol, and that more than takes care of it, and then everything else from that I'll be able to profit from with the patient. So for me, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, and I'm happy to break that up onto several cards. I've had to do that. I'm happy to, you know, take payments for it, whatever we need to do to work with your clinic to get started. I know everyone has different size clinics, and like, there's no problem there. So we will work through it together. And then lastly, once that $1,000 is paid and you've been approved, we will give you access on the website to view and order the peptide packages. Basically, I'll just set a little setting on your account, and you then on the website will be able to view the protocols and packages, place orders on the website. It's just a normal online checkout. You put in your card info, say where you want to send it to, and we'll ship it to you. And you'll also gain access to the second form for the IRB, which is the CIF 1003 form, which is the medical intake form and the research consent form for your patient. And one note on that form is that it only has to be signed one time per patient. So it's not like every single time. If you put one patient on several protocols, you don't have to fill out the form every single time. It's just one time per patient. You have that form on file for them. And then there's a chart in there that you can continue to add future protocols if you decided to put them on additional things. So it's pretty easy.
Absolutely. And I think that that kind of comes down to the length or some of the questions out there with this, and then we'll go to questions and answers, is the benefits. The health benefits of the patients are extreme. And, you know, like I said, just try one of them. You'll be amazed, especially the BPC or something like that, or CJC, where you get that growth hormone, you know, and it's just like nuts, that the benefits with it. But also, you know, does it benefit your clinic and to be able to keep you being able to be a practitioner and moving forward financially? And you need to answer that question, right? If it cost you money and you lost money, you wouldn't be able to do it and stay in business. So what most clinicians do is they'll take the cost of the package and double it. That's the most popular thing, because that way you're still well under a lot of the norm of these anti-aging clinics and med spas out there. And you're doing it with higher level peptides, ones that are proven at an extremely high level. That's the recommendation that I would give. And I know that there's clinics, because there's some that are, you know, in Scottsdale, Arizona, or Virginia Beach, or, you know, different places where anti-aging clinics are real popular, that 3 and 4 times their cost of it. So really it's up to you. It really is up to you. But the key is you set your pricing with it. And one thing that Ashley did with the cellular peptide, I think like your first week, once you talk to the doctors, what I loved was, before you were going to order the peptides yourself to your clinic, then you're going to have to keep them cold, and then you're going to have to ship them. And now Ashley set it up to where you get a drop ship. So now I'll go on cellular peptide, right? I've gone through, signed all my papers, and the IRB 1002 papers got approved. Now I go on to cellular peptide, and I'm going to order a product for Jane Doe. I'm going to say CGC 1295 protocol package to Jane Doe, and it's shipped to her. So she gets it straight from the source, and she gets the card. It tells her dosage, it tells her the videos, you know, the little cartoons, tells her how to reconstitute, does everything for her. And then I charge her. So I pay cellular peptide for that package. So I'll pay them $1,000. Then I'll go to the patient, depending on what package I have the patient. If it's just a peptide package, I'm going to double it. They're going to pay $2,000 for 12 weeks. If they've looked at peptides out there with any of the clinics, they're going to be extremely happy about the pricing anyways, or it's going to be part of a package. So in my case, I have some clients that pay me for the year. They'll pay a certain amount of concierge health package, and I include some of the peptides in that package. So for the year they pay me, and then, you know, I'll put them on a peptide if they need it. And that, as we go through, basically take care of them. So you're able to determine the price to the patient. If you're selling the peptide packages to the patient, or you're selling it in a package deal with your other services, that's strictly up to you. But you're paying for it from cellular peptide, drop shipping it to the patient, and then the patient pays you whatever you want them to. And so that's kind of the way it works. And I really like that, by the way, because you don't want to handle the peptides. You don't want to worry about the stability of them. You don't have anything to do with that. The patient's a part of the study. It's sent to them. They do it. They get asked in 6 months, you know, which peptides they were on and what the results were. You report back to the IRB. We put it into, or they put it into the study, and that's the way it works. So it's super, super cool the way the system works. And I don't know of anyone else doing it that way in the industry, where they get rid of all those pain points. It's still practitioner ran. The practitioner is the one that is controlling the situation, and then the patient just takes them, and you don't have to worry about doing these things in the clinic. Okay. So let's go to, we go to questions, Ashley.
Yeah, go to the next slide so that they can see the page to get started if they'd like. So I will also put it into the chat, the actual links.
I'm going to go through the questions right now while you're talking.
Yeah.
And I'll start answering them once you're done. So
Yeah,
that
go.
QR code then, right? Get that?
Yeah, so they can scan the QR code. My contact info is there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Or I'm putting 2 links in the chat right now. The first one is to read more about the get started steps, or set up that call with me that I was mentioning, if you want to do it together. Or if you want to just go ahead and get started right away, you can click that second link and it will take you to the page to create your login. So
Perfect. Okay, we'll go through them real quick. Dr. Klein, you asked about, do you inject in the joint or the arm? And I think hopefully I answered that. Basically, BPC 157, you won't inject it. I injected it right into the joint right here because I had the shoulder injury. I personally seen extremely high level athletes with elbow, they call it tennis elbow, but it was a pitching situation, just go the joint. But because it's systemic, you don't have to, but I've seen crazy results of people doing it there. And I've seen people inject it intramuscularly in those areas because they want faster results, right? That's painful. I'm a wuss when it comes to needles, so I don't do that. But I've seen that happen, and you'll hear that a lot, but you don't have to. So that's really the only one. The rest of them, you just want it in the system. So usually the fat right around the stomach or in the glute is the top 2 places that's injected in, okay? Again, we do inject. I wish you didn't have to. I wish you could ingest them, but the body will break them down and make them useless. So if you have these peptides that are taken orally, if you take BPC 157 orally, it helps heal the gut. That's probably the only one orally that I know of that would help, but it doesn't help heal the body. It heals the gut because it gets broken down in the gut. Let's see. Can I make the slides larger? Sorry, I just saw that one. If you come to one of the seminars, especially if you come to the super seminar in Tucson next month, you'll not only get 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours straight of this from Dr. Harris and myself, but we'll give you access to the slide deck of all the research too. The benefits of each protocol, the reports from practitioners. Again, practitioners, so those of you that use them, if you'll pop on right now. And as soon as I get through these last questions, I might be able to unmute you if you want to speak, but at least maybe put in here what some of the results have been from that. Can I order this for my clients? I think Ashley answered that. That's up to IRB, but seems like you can. How long do you have to avoid food before you inject? Does empty stomach also include vitamins and other nutrients? Great question. So again, 2 hours is what I'm suggesting, is what the research shows, 2 hours. Now, the other vitamins and nutrients things is interesting because vitamins and minerals and herbs don't affect them. Amino acids do. So I wouldn't take Muscle RX right at the same time. I'd wait a few hours for that. So 2 hours before, hour after. So I would take the injection and wait an hour before I took things. But then I would definitely take things like the peptide support pack, Muscle RX, protein powder, things like that after, to give the body more ammo to make, these peptides from. But 2 hours before is a game changer. It really is. You really want to try to obey that. Will you get benefit? Sure. But you're getting 50-60% benefit instead of 100% benefit with it. Dr. Parker mentioned test kit. There is no test kit. That's an interesting thought. Make a note of that.
I'm also working, just a quick point on that I hadn't thought about a test kit. That is interesting, but I am also working with Zyto, which I know a lot of you guys work with Zyto, but we're working with them to get all of the peptides into their library, they call it. So I'm hoping to have that done by super seminar.
No, didn't know that. That's awesome. So Dr. Parker says that he's able to transition a patient from years of antidepressants without any side effects, working much better. He's had to step off. So I'm sure that's a Selexi Max. We've seen a lot of benefit of that personally too. So does any of the peptides work for pulmonary fibrosis? So if you look at the research, and you can Google a lot of the research on this too, but you'll see some of the interesting and very promising benefits from BPC 157 in that arena. But here's what's interesting, and I learned from Dr. Harris at the seminar, is actually the semaglutide had some really great benefit, and it specifically mentions one of the studies in there on that. So yes, and you can have to pick which one is best for the patient with it already. So some of you have in the past filled out paperwork in that, just need to get, approved and going. That's great.
So sorry, Doug, quickly. If we did host a seminar back in February on peptides, and a few of you guys created accounts with Cellular Peptide at that seminar. Since then, when we launched the IRB, our partnership with the IRB, we had to recreate the account. So if you haven't been on the new website and recreated your account, when you try to go log in, it won't work. So please just recreate your account, set it up. That will give you access to the forms. There's no harm in creating a second account. So
yeah. The question is, where do these peptides come from? Lab created human. Okay, good question. They're not human peptides. We don't pull them out of humans. No, they're created. What I mean by that is amino acids are in nature, right? They're proteins that are broken down. So you take an amino acid that comes from anything. It's just an amino acid, glutamine, right? Tryptophan, whatever it is. It could come from a vegetable, from anything. It's just an amino acid. And then in the lab, you bind that amino acid to the right other amino acid with a ligand bond, which is more of a fibrous bond. And then the peptide's built. And then it's checked, and then it's checked for stability, and then you third party analyze it. Are those the right amino acids? It's a process. It's a process using natural nutrients, binding them together in a controlled setting. And so that's exactly how amino acid minerals, chelate minerals are made. You take the natural mineral and you put it in a fermentation situation to bind to it with the natural, glycine amino acid. So that's how they're created. And I hope that helps a little bit to understand it, what the peptides, where they come from. Okay. Let's see, is there any other questions in there? Am I missing something? What are the
there's some questions in the Q&A. Yeah.
Okay, jump over there. Sorry. What are the contraindications, side effects? So we talked about that, and Ashley's going to actually put some more things on the flyers that go with the peptides, but just to talk you through it really quick, either there's none that there's in the literature or that I have heard of, like with BBC 157, TB 500. I haven't heard of any from that, and any others that I've heard of is one of two things. The CJC 1295 ipamorelin, the first few times people take that, they get a flush like they're taking the what was our Natural Vitalities called our Be Awake formula now. They get a pretty good flush from it, with a little bit of a heart racing. So I tell my patients that. In fact, I had one call and say, I'm so glad you told me that, because I kind of freaked out. I got this big flush, and I was like, for like 20 minutes. And then after that, after they took it a few times, they didn't have any anymore. So the CJC 1295 can cause that flush and that at first. And so that'll be put, I think, in the literature, but I'd tell my patients that. And then the PT 141 sexual one, along with semaglutide, we do have some people that I've seen, and the research shows that some people can get nauseated from that at first. And that's why if you look at the semaglutide, it starts with a real low dosage, like 0.25, which is really, really small. And then they work up to the 20 over like 4 weeks or so period of time. It's only a once a week injection. So with semaglutide. So that's that. And the PT 141, the same thing, is taking it for the first time. They might cause nausea to start real low. The last thing you want, especially taking the PT 141, it will change the whole reason you took it for the night, right? If someone gets sick, nauseated, it'll kind of like ruin the whole vibe. So you want to start really low on those two, and then just work your way up with them, because you don't know if they're going to get nauseated or not. And the thing is that it really is based on the body having that peptide and not having it for a long time. And then it's like, whoa, it's kind of like taking whole food vitamins for the first time. Some people get nauseated until they get used to it. Let's see, am I missing some here? So how do I help with if my patient's prone to getting nausea? Two things: lower the dose tremendously is what I'd recommend. I know some people will actually go with some food and take it so that, it's not as potent to begin with. I personally would use lower dosage, but that's two things you can do. The question on cancer patients, I'm going to leave that one alone. I'll leave that to Dr. Harris. He'll answer that for you with some great research on that, but I think you can even Google some of that there, but I'm not going to go to the cancer information. Regarding semaglutide, there seems to be a huge back order getting the compound from pharmacies. What's the lead time through Cellular Peptide?
I can answer that one. So normally we try really hard to keep a base inventory. Obviously, as we grow with events like this, the webinar, super seminar, I'm not sure what the interest is going to be. So I hope to always keep things in stock for you. Currently, we have semaglutide in stock. Our lead time from our lab is about 2 weeks. So if we do run out, I usually can be ahead of it before it goes on back order. So, I mean, right now it's available.
Yeah, and it's a good, I appreciate, Brandy, you bringing that up. You know, there's a huge back order of semaglutide from pharmacies, but what's happening is these people, again, companies are binding to semaglutide with additional molecules so that they can try to patent them and say, oh no, this is the brand of semaglutide you want. There's no brand of semaglutide. Semaglutide is a peptide, and that's what you should have, and you shouldn't have anything bound to it. And they're being sold these things. And so that's what the back order is. They're taking semaglutide and happen to manufacture on top of that and go from there. But straight pure semaglutide is what Cellular Peptide uses. And I, being a part of the process of making sure the purity's there, I'm really happy with that right now with them, because they're not, you know, Cellular Peptide is not trying to get these things from places to where everyone else is, and they don't care about necessarily where they're made at and the quality of them. So it's a different ball game, at least for now. So I think if you got hit up too hard, it might cause a little bit of a back order, but I haven't seen a back order with them yet, and I really excited about that. Mary talking about the donation. Usually donations are not a write-off, but this is a business. This is a business expense for you to be a part of a research study. And so I'll let you know, but I'm writing mine off, and my CPA is for me that that's definitely doable. That's, you know, I'm not a CPA, but from what I can tell and was told, absolutely. Let's see, do we need to pay for the IRB to buy peptides for personal use? Ash?
So, it's tricky. I am technically not supposed to let you guys order peptides on your own account that haven't been approved by the IRB. If you would like to contact Doug about becoming one of his personal clients as an Optimal Gains health professional, he might be willing to let you enter under his his you know,
So
you could be one of his patients, truly, if you wanted to try it. And then we actually have done that for one doctor so far. And then I can give you access to order. So basically you would be Doug's patient. We would have paperwork for you as if you were his patient, but you can still order on your account. I have to have some type of paperwork to protect myself.
Everyone that gets a peptide from Cellular Peptide is a part of the study. So you basically, so let's say that Dr. Linkering was a doctor in the program and another doctor just wanted to try it. Well, Dr. Linkering can give it to him at his cost as a patient though. And that person, so Demetria, you would be the patient and you'd fill the paperwork out. In 6 months, you would get a paper that you'd report your results of that peptide. And even if you took the peptide, you know, for a few weeks, you're going to report back what that was. And so that would be one way to go about it, whether you became a patient of an existing health professional that's in the IRB and do that. And so Ashley would refer you to, you know, my clinic or one of the other doctor clinics that would be willing to do that so that you can get at your cost, still your doctor cost. You know, we obviously don't want to make a profit on our fellow health professionals. And so you get it at the cost and then give it a shot. So that is a very interesting way. I like that, to do that way. So Dr. Lankering talks about the the OHS has great educational promotional information, what types of education and marketing materials are available. Cellular Peptide. I've been asked by Ashley to work on some of the material that would, she'd probably put on Cellular Peptide's website, just educational material for the public and things like that, just to learn more about them and that. But Ashley, what's the plans with educational material for Cellular Peptide? For the doc?
Yeah, so I am constantly working to create educational material for your patients. I agree that OHS's stuff is awesome. I made a lot of it back in the day. So I would love to be able to offer a lot of similar things for Cellular Peptide. Obviously, we're new. It's going to take us a little bit of time to get that type of stuff together. Some of my plans for the future, and you guys can kind of give me maybe some feedback on this, is I would like to have a database of some kind on the website for the health professionals, where you guys can look up, we've gotten questions here. Does this help with sarcopenia? Does this help with, XYED? What peptides should I use for these different conditions? And kind of have a database of some kind based off of the research, so that you guys have a place to go to figure out what to recommend to your patients. And then I would also like to have a database for the patients. That's a very simple explanation of what is a peptide, and then simple explanations of what each of the different protocols do, so that you can send the patient there just for education purposes. Marketing material, I haven't gotten that far yet, so I don't even know what that would look like, but I will start thinking on it.
The sexual benefit, the sexual enhancement peptide help men with AD, absolutely. That's one of the major factors with it. I think the PT-141, because it's the only thing that's really come out to help women with sexual interest and arousal and all that, that it's really being used a lot there. But this is the replacement for the harmful drugs like Viagra and Cialis, and those that cause an oxidative effect in the body and makes people dependent on them, and then they have issues even worse. This is the peptide to naturally act as that secretagogue and signaler molecule to help the body, and so that you wouldn't have to keep taking it to benefit from that, to be able to have that response back. So absolutely, positively answer on that one. So have anyone seen results, people facing hip knee replacement, bone or knee? Docs, you want to comment on that? I have seen a knee person who's going to go in for knee surgery not have to. I think it was a medial collateral tear. It wasn't, obviously, if you've torn the ACL completely, there's not much you can do there. But if it's a partial tear, things like that, that's kind of what it's about. And so be open to some other health professionals commenting on that. The beneficial for neuropathy is what you're thinking. I think you're saying, Ruth, right? Absolutely. And that's one of the things that you have to kind of look at which peptide to use that. Is it inflammation causing a lot of that situation? Or in this case, semaglutide, right? Semaglutide helping with the diabetic neuropathy in situations, or any type of neuropathy like that. Or if it's an aging neuropathy issue, looking at the, kisspeptin, epitalin combination, going there with it. Cognitive function, Parkinson tremor, several patients on Sumax length. Thanks, Dr. Stockwell. Memory too. So we're getting a lot of comments about this length Sumax and that. So is there info about the 8 protocols to provide the patients? Ashley, is there information right now about the protocols to provide patients?
There is basic information. So when the patient gets their card, that's within the package, it has a QR code for them to go to the website to see the videos on how to reconstitute, to inject. There's also information there about each of the protocols, but it's very simple and very basic. Just like, here's what this protocol does. These are the peptides it utilizes, similar to what you saw on the slides today. So that's where we're at with that. But like I said, that's one of my first projects I'm working on, is I'm hoping to get a database together for you to send your patients to, that has more information, more research, but in a way that they'll understand on each of the peptides for you guys to refer them to.
Dr. Hancock, did you have a question that I didn't see in there? I saw that your hand was raised in there. Do you have in the chat or anything that you wanted to put in there? You do. And Dr. Kaufman, if you're on, are you able to speak and maybe give a testimonial? I know that you've been a big fan of the peptides. If you're still with us, raise your hand on there and we'll be glad to come to you just as we're kind of finishing and bringing some of those in. So just real quick, there you go. Let me bring Dr. Kaufman on to talk, and then Dr. Hancock.
In the chat too.
And so let's see. There we go. Let's see if this works. Dr. Kaufman, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Tell us about your experience with the peptides.
Well, I started with 3 of the peptides so far. I started with the BPC and the Selenkin-Semax and the semaglutide, and the results have been great with the BPC on the patient's joints, including one patient who's not in need of a knee replacement as a result of. I'm also getting very good results with a patient with the semaglutide who actually had diabetes as well, even though I wasn't treating her diabetes, and she's doing fantastic with it. The blood sugar came down, and most important, she's able to fast now, which she hasn't been able to do before because of the appetite control. So those are my favorite things that I've seen so far.
Oh, Doug, you're still muted.
I just said thank you, Dr. Kaufman, for jumping on and jumping with the protocol so quickly and being able to get that help to those patients that probably would have gotten it. And it really means a lot. And thank you for your aggressive work with the patients and doing the peptides and being patient with cellular peptides. They got up to the speed. So thanks for doing that. Let's see, Dr. Hancock, can you raise your hand on there one more time so I can find you? There it is, allowed to talk. So Dr. Hancock, you're on. Did you have a question? You're muted if you want to unmute that. Oh. So I'm not sure if he had to pop off there. If you're on, Dr. Hancock, go ahead and talk. I'll just mention one thing while we're waiting to see if you can get that unmuted. Dr. Kaufman is really, I really want to just kind of shout out because anytime we've gone and said, hey, here's some things that, we've seen happen with patients or we've worked with them, we're finally able to bring it to you guys in a way that is beneficial. He's really taken advantage of and just been very, very progressive and aggressive with whatever it works best with the patients and thinking about them first. So really, really, really appreciate that and everything you're doing there. A couple last questions and then we'll close. Thank you all for staying on. I'll let Ashley finish it up. The question is, does the IRB umbrella protect us in all states? Are we recommend the product or recommend the patient join the study?
Yeah, so the IRB umbrella does protect you in all states. So that's great. What?
Internationally also.
Oh yeah, that's true, internationally. And I think the answer to your second question is both. You're recommending the peptide to the patient because you know that it would be beneficial to them for their condition. But you also are recommending that they join the study. Cellular Peptide is not able to sell you the product without the patient joining the study. Joining the IRB is required for all cellular peptide health professional accounts. So it's both, that's combined. They would have to join the study, consent to the study by signing that 1003 form to use the peptides. So I hope that answers your question. Dr. Glanda, I also saw that you asked in the Q&A section if there's an additional fee for the year, an additional donation. So one thing that's really cool about OHS is we have all of these seminars. And so the people who attended the seminar in Vegas back in February, they were kind of grandfathered into the new system, and it's a $1,000 one-time fee. Now that we're getting going, there is an additional fee for the year. It's $1,000 upfront, and then it's $500 a year after that, just at the beginning of the year. On January 1st, you'll receive that invoice to continue the protection with the IRB. So that's just kind of a plug to go attend OHS seminars so you can make sure you get the best deals on everything. But yeah, that is the cost for those donations to the IRB. So
Okay, two last ones real quick. Cannot figure out how much water to add based on the chart. Can you go over that, please? Actually, it mentions it on each card, but the baseline that you'll see is that if you fill up the large the large needle to 1 milliliter and with the bacteriostatic water, and you put that into the vial, that's almost all of them. That's what it is. It'll tell you if it's any different. And that's basically simple as that. Ashley?
oh yeah, so I wish I had a chart in front of me, but I don't. It's basically, let me make sure I say this right. It's 10 units of bacteriostatic water per 1 milligram
Of the peptide.
So say the peptide vial is a 10 milligram vial. So, and it's 10, remember it's 10 units per 1 milligram. So that means you're going to be doing the entire syringe. You're going to be doing 100 units. In a case like semaglutide, the vial is 3 milligrams. So you're only going to be putting in 30 units. Because it's 3 milligrams. Does that make sense? I am working actually I've gotten some feedback that the chart is still a little bit too confused. We came out with the chart to make it more simple, still not quite simple enough. And so I'm working to simplify that even more, provide even more instruction to help answer some of those questions for your patients.
Okay. I have a client with a possible tear to his long tendon of the triceps. Will the peptides be helpful repairing and avoiding surgery? I'll give you a little TMI, too much information. I have the opposite happen. I tore the bicep. So I have what's called the Popeye syndrome. This the muscle here, right? It tore, so it popped into the muscle. So you have that Popeye syndrome. And I was going to go get surgery to repair it, and come to find out that I could rehab and use a BPC 157 for the healing of it. Now it's still going to look Popeye-ish, but and avoid the surgery. And it's the same concept with the tricep. That's what BPC's, that's where it shines. And so I would give it a shot, because surgery is tough and there's going to be side effects no matter what. And so if you could do the BPC first, why not try it first? And if worst case scenario, they have to do surgery, like with knee surgery, why not go this route first with the natural peptides and see if the body will heal itself? So rheumatoid arthritis, Dr. Stockwell, obviously if you want to look up the research on rheumatoid arthritis and BPC 157, TB 500, you're going to be very, very happy with that research. And I've enjoyed seeing that research myself. And Dr. Harris goes into great detail at the seminar. So come to the super seminar for that. So that's really about it for my end. Ashley, any last words? And then we'll let the doctors go. Thank you so much, doctors, for spending this long. But this is a great subject. This is a game changer. This is one of those paradigm shifts in your clinic that's like, bam. And now you have this crazy new tool, and it just takes you to legendary status.
Yeah, no, I'm just really excited. I'm honored to work with you guys. I was really excited when kind of, the opportunity and idea presented itself of a way that I could work with you and provide even more service to you guys, provide even more options for your patients. I believe fully in the mission of OHS and have given a lot of my time to it. And I'm excited to continue that over the years with Cellular Peptide. And yeah, so my contact's there. If you guys have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to you or to me. And I put the links in the chat to get started, or you can scan the QR code on the slide. And I look forward to working with you guys.
All right, well, thanks so much. And again, I would take advantage of getting Ashley on a Zoom call or on a phone call to go over all the details and let her walk you through it until it gets so crazy that she doesn't have the time to do that. Take advantage of the situation right now. Highly recommend that. That time's going to be gone soon, and it's a good time to get involved where you can get your hand held and walk through the IRB, get set up, be in a great situation to be able to help your patients immediately. So thanks again. We'll see you all.
Thanks, guys.